Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Parallel and perpendicular lines. This is going to be a section with very few notes, just basically 2 observations, and then a couple of problems of application. So this is going to be a very simple section. First, let's consider parallel lines. As you know, the slope of a line is basically its steepness. So if I have a couple of parallel lines and I ask myself the question, if this was a hill I was walking up, would this one be steeper or would that one be steeper? And your obvious logical observation is, hey, they're parallel, the steepness is the same. Remember that steepness is synonymous with slope, so we can make this conclusion. Parallel lines have the same slope. And that's no surprise, huh? They have the same steepness, they have the same slope. So if the slope of this line is +1, then the slope of this line is +1 as well. Interesting thing to observe is that this logic goes both ways. If I know lines are parallel, then I can assume they have the same slope. Likewise, if 2 lines have the same slope, I can assume they're parallel. So the logic runs in both directions. All right, we'll consider perpendicular lines. I drew these lines to be perpendicular. I even put the little block in the corner to indicate 90-degree angle. Now you may think, and most people come to this conclusion, that since parallel lines have the same slope, then perpendicular lines must have slopes that are opposites. Almost. Here's our conclusion. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Now that's not real obvious as to what that means, so let's look at a few examples. Let's say I give you the slope of one line, let's call it M1, and ask you to find the slope of the line that's perpendicular to it. Let's say the slope of line 1 is 2. What would be the slope of the line that's perpendicular to that? Well, I do 2 things. Number 1, take the reciprocal. And the best way to take a reciprocal is to imagine this as a fraction, 2/1, and invert the fraction and change the sign, -1/2. So it's the opposite or negative reciprocal. Try another one. Reciprocal, change the sign. Try another one. Reciprocal, change the sign from negative to positive. So if I know 2 lines are perpendicular, their slopes are opposite or negative reciprocals. Okay, here's a sneaky one for you. Let's say the slope of one line is 0. What is the slope of the line perpendicular to it? You might think, well, I could express this as a fraction, and you're right, you could. And so I will take its reciprocal and change the sign. Actually, if I put this in my calculator, I get an error notation. Let's think why. This is a zero slope. What kind of line has a zero slope? Oh yeah, this is a horizontal line. And what kind of line is perpendicular to a horizontal line? Oh yeah, a vertical line. And what's the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. So this is the one example where there is no actual number for the negative reciprocal of a number. 0 is the one exception. So if I know the slope of a line and I know a second line is perpendicular to it, I can find its slope by taking the opposite reciprocal. All right, let's work a few problems. This says, put this line in slope-intercept form. Now, you know slope-intercept form is y equals, right? So I'm going to have to express this guy in terms of y equals. So let's simplify this guy. I'm first of all going to distribute the -3. -3 times -2x plus 6x. To get it in y equals form, I need to have the y's on the left, everything else on the right. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I'm going to put my x's first because that's the form of y equals mx plus b. Almost there. All I have to do is divide everything by 8. And I know two things about this line. Number one, its slope is 6/8. Its y-intercept is -9/8. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify the fraction 6/8. Now here's the second part of this question. Find the equation of the line that passes through that point and is parallel to that line. And here's the question. What do I need from this line to help me find the equation of my second line? Just the slope. This is all I need. This is all that's going to help me because if it's parallel to this line, it has the same slope. So I have a point and I have a slope. How do I know this is my slope? Because my line is parallel to this line. They have the same slope. Now this takes us back to our last section. Notice what I have here. I have an x, a y, and an m. So I can fill into y equals mx plus b. I have an x, a y, and m. I have everything but b. Fill in these three values, solve for b. So here we go. Y equals m times x plus b. Need to solve for b. Now I'm going to go ahead and put -9/1 so I can remind myself how I multiply fractions straight across. Got to get the b by itself, so take the 27/4 to the other side and change the sign, or we could say add 27/4 to both sides. So I get negative 13 plus 27/4 equals b. Once again, I need to change 13 to fourths. And let me just remind you how to do this. Put the 13 over 1. I need to change it to fourths, right? Something over 4. So I simply multiply by 1 in the form of 4 over 4. Hey, if I needed to change it to sevenths, I'd multiply by 7 over 7. 15ths, 15 over 15. So whatever this denominator is, that number over itself. I'm just multiplying by 1. So I'm not changing the value, just its appearance. Negative 13 times 4, negative 52. 1 times 4 is 4. So here's my equivalent fraction. This is the same as negative 13. Use your calculator. This turns out to be negative 25/4 is b. So check what I have now. I have the y-intercept. I've got the slope. Slope and the y-intercept is all I need to put an equation in slope-intercept form. So my equation, y equals mx plus b. Once again, we used the fact that my line is parallel to this line, therefore they have the same slope. That's the concept. All right, let's try this guy. Put this guy in slope-intercept form, i.e. solve it for y. So I got more y's over here, and I want my y to be on the left side anyway. So minus 7y. Get the x's over here. I get y is negative 6x minus 4. So that's my first challenge. Put this in slope-intercept form, and there's my slope. There's my y-intercept. Now notice what they ask here. Find the equation of the line that passes through that and is perpendicular to this line. All right. Now this slope is negative 6. So my slope from my new line is going to be the opposite reciprocal of that, the negative reciprocal. Change the sign, flip the fraction, positive 1/6. So my slope is going to be positive 1/6. So I'm going to take y equals mx plus b. I have my x and my y, same concept as before. I have my x, my y, and my slope. Remember, my slope is the negative reciprocal of this slope. So let's fill in what we know. Y is the slope, 1/6, times x plus b. So negative 13 equals 1/6 plus b. Subtract 1/6 from both sides, and I get b is negative 13 minus 1/6. We're going to do exactly the same thing we did earlier. I got to change this to 6th. So negative 13 over 1. I got to change it to 6th. So multiply top and bottom by 6. negative 78/6. So B is negative 78/6. Is that right? 6 and 8 carry away. Yep. Minus 1/6. Negative 79/6. So I got my y-intercept. I got my slope. That's all I need to come up with the equation of the line, which is y equals mx plus b. Again, we use the concept. If I know the slope of one line and my line is perpendicular to that one, take the opposite reciprocal, the negative reciprocal of this slope to get your new slope. All right, here's the last problem we're going to work. Are these two lines parallel or perpendicular? I don't know. How are we going to find out? We're going to put them in the form y equals mx plus b, and then we're going to compare their slopes. If their slopes are the same, they're perpendicular. If their slopes are opposite reciprocals, if their slopes are the same, they're parallel. If the slopes are opposite reciprocals, they're perpendicular. Hey, if they're neither one, then they're neither parallel nor perpendicular. For instance, what if this slope was 2/3 and this one was 3/4? Hey, that's neither the same nor negative reciprocals, so they're neither parallel nor perpendicular. All right, let's solve these guys for y. Distributing the negative. Distributing here. I need to get my y's on this side, right? To make it y equals y is the only thing that belongs on the left side, so let's get rid of this. And let's move this as well. Now we're not quite there. I need to get y equals, so I need to divide everything by 2. Slope-intercept form. Can you tell what the slope is? There it is right there. Slope is 5. So if this guy has a slope of 5, they're parallel. If it's got a slope of negative 1/5, they're perpendicular. Neither one of those things, then they are neither parallel nor perpendicular. Let's see what happens. Y's are already on the left, so let's get rid of this 4. I'm going to put my x's first. 5 minus 4 is 1. Divide by 2. Hey, look what we got. Slope-intercept form. Slope is 5. Slope is 5. Lines are parallel. So that's all you have to do. Put it in slope-intercept form, recognize the slope, same slope, parallel lines. All right, good luck on the rest of the problems. They're very similar.